First of all, in this order of draw comes the yellow one. Yellow one is for culture tube, for blood cultures, okay. Then the light blue, which is for sodium citrate. Red again for serum test. Then comes the light green. Avoid this gold one, okay. You will not get it in exams. So light green is for heparin, then lavender is for EDTA, and gray is for sodium fluoride. Okay. There's a mnemonic which I have written over here for better remembrance. Okay. Your lovely red girl loves gray, which means for yellow, this is for light blue. It comes in this sequence only. Okay. Then this is for red, girl for green, loves lavender and gray. Okay. Then again, yellow is for blood culture, I have shown you. Light blue is for sodium citrate. Red is for serum test like kidney function test, liver function test, biochemical test. Okay. Then green comes for heparin. Lavender is for EDTA and gray is for sodium fluoride. Okay. See, after collection, apart from this, I would like to add that there's also some complications of blood draw. Okay, I have written here, there are some local, visible na? There are some local complication and there are some systemic complication. Okay, local we have hematoma, pain, bruising, infection, nerve injury, phlebitis. Phlebitis means infection in the veins. Okay, and in systemic we have syncope, convulsion, hemolysis. In some case, excessive blood loss may be there. So the symptom, syncope is the most important in systemic. Okay, so these are, you will come to know in your clinical postings. So symptoms of syncope is dizziness, blurred vision, sweating, etc. Management is proper position. This is a position in which we ask the patient to raise the legs. Okay, why? In this process, after raising of the legs, the venous return increases and the cardiac output also increases. As a result, the oxygen supply to the brain is enough or sufficient. Okay. Hemolysis means breakdown of RBCs. Okay. Achha. Now this is after collection of the blood, all the contaminated materials should be disposed in a proper way as per biomedical waste management criteria. Okay. According to the criteria, means waste are discarded in different bins. Color coded bins will be there. So I am telling some of the materials like soil particles or any pathological waste, cotton, gauze, body fluid, etc. should be discarded in yellow bin. Okay. Syringes without needles, gloves, plastic waste like tubes, catheters should be discarded in red bins. Okay. And sharp objects like syringes with needles, then blades, scalpel should be discarded in white bin. Okay. These are all present here in the slide. Blue bin like glass, broken glasses, laboratory slides, scissors, metallic body parts, etc. discarded in the blue bin. Okay. These are the types of blood samples. Okay. Mainly three main types of blood samples are there. One is the whole blood, serum blood, plasma. Whole blood and plasma are anticoagulated form and serum is the clotted blood. I will show you. See, there are three pictures also given. In the plasma, there is a term written over here which is the buffy coat. Okay, so buffy coat is nothing but a thin whitish layer that forms between the plasma and the red blood cell when anticoagulated blood is centrifuged. Now, what is centrifugation? I am giving you a small idea about centrifugation. It is basically a technique which is used for separation of components of a mixture. Okay. In laboratory, this is done mainly. So, whole blood contains RBC, WBC, platelets and plasma. And serum and plasma are the liquid portion of the blood. But before clotting it is plasma and after clotting it is the serum. Okay. Then comes the anticoagulants. anticoagulants are the substances that prevents blood from getting clotted, okay, without hampering or without any alteration in the formed elements or the blood plasma, okay. They just interferes with the coagulation process. Coagulation process you will come to know in your lecture classes, because a very broad topic is there about coagulation process, okay. Now these anticoagulants are used in blood collection, laboratory tests and medical treatment like thrombosis. There are some common laboratory anticoagulants which are used more commonly in the laboratories. These are EDTA, sodium citrate, double oxalate, heparin and sodium fluoride. Now this EDTA, these are the mechanism of action. This EDTA binds with calcium. Again, sodium citrate binds with calcium. Double oxalate precipitate calcium as oxalate. Heparin inhibits thrombin and factor Xa. And sodium fluoride inhibits glycolysis. Okay, I have told about the local complications. So what happens sometimes after blood collection, patient may develop bruises, inflammation, pain, swelling. In that case, what we have to do is for symptomatic relief, we prescribe them gel or ointment which is applied topically, okay. And this is nothing but a substance similar to heparin, which is known as heparin oil or heparin jelly, which comes in the market with the brand name of Thrombophob gel, okay. Okay, this much, but sit down, I will show you some pictures for better remembrance, okay. See, this is the position which I have told about management of systemic, this syncope, okay. This is the proper position. Patient is asked to raise his or her legs, okay. And see, this is a nice picture drawn by one of your teacher, Dr. Prarthana, beautifully drawn, okay. So this is nothing but like for better understanding, okay. Like you were chilling under the sky, you can remember from this blue sky, blue Vacutainer. Then you can enjoy the sunset, sun is red, so red Vacutainer. Then you can enjoy the natural beauty like trees and flowers. Trees are green Vacutainer, flowers like lavenders. Sitting over a beautiful ground, comfortable ground, grey ground, okay. This is just for better remembrance, okay. That's all. Now you have to, we will show you some videos, okay.
Dispose of the lancet in the shark's container. With clean, sterile gauze, wipe away the first drop of blood. It contains tissue for this hand motion technique. Apply gentle pressure, let up, then reapply. This intermittent pressure helps the blood flow freely. Don't squeeze too hard. Forceful squeezing creates fluid that dilutes the blood, causing inaccurate results. Express a large drop of blood and touch the end of the tube to it, not to the finger. Fill the capillary tube about 3/4 full, or to the indicator line if it has one. Pre-sealed end down, tip the tube. When the blood flows down and touches the sealant, hold the tube for 30 seconds to allow it to seal automatically. Wipe the patient's finger with a clean, sterile gauze pad. Express another large drop of blood and fill a microtainer. Don't touch the container to the finger. If more blood is needed, wipe the puncture with sterile gauze and gently squeeze another drop. Then cap the microtainer tube. When collection is complete, apply pressure to the puncture site. Patient may be able to help with this step. Be sure to label the container. Seal the capillary tube to be placed in a red top tube, which then the microtainers can be placed in a ziploc biopacking bag that is then labeled.
Go to your sets, person like an yellow tapunti, elegaro de
Disinfect the work area. Use the biohazard waste container to dispose of blood-contaminated material. Remove your lab coat and gloves and sanitize your hands to ensure infection control. Complete the laboratory requisition form and route the specimen to the proper place. Record the procedure in the patient's record. Remember, a procedure isn't considered done until it's been reported.
the venous collection. You see.
Venipuncture involves several important steps. Thoroughly understanding these steps will give you the confidence to perform this procedure quickly and accurately. Check the requisition form to determine the test order. Gather your tubes and supplies. Typically, you'll need a syringe of appropriate size with a 21 or 22 gauge safety needle, vacuum tubes for the test ordered, 70% isopropyl alcohol pads, gauze pads, a tourniquet, a safety transfer device, hypoallergenic tape, a permanent marking pen for printed labels, and a fluid impermeable lab coat and disposable gloves. Introduce yourself and greet the patient. Put on a fluid impermeable lab coat, sanitize your hands, and put on disposable gloves. To make sure you have the right patient, verify his identity using two identifiers. Explain the procedure and obtain permission for the venipuncture. Inspect both of your patient's arms and ask your patient if he has a preference. Help your patient sit with his arm well supported and straight in a slightly downward position. Assemble the needle and syringe. Attach the needle firmly to the syringe. Pull and depress the plunger several times to loosen it in the barrel while keeping the cover on the needle. The plunger must be pushed in completely after it has been loosened. Apply the tourniquet around the patient's arm 3 to 4 inches above the elbow. The tourniquet should never be tied so tightly that it restricts blood flow in the artery. Next, ask your patient to vein the fist. Select the venipuncture site by palpating the antecubital space. Once you've found the vein, use your index finger to trace the path of the vein and judge its depth. Clean the venipuncture site with an alcohol pad. Begin in the center of the area and work outward in a circular pattern. Give the area time to dry before you proceed. Pick up the syringe with your dominant hand. Your thumb should be on top of the syringe and your fingers beneath it. Remove the needle cover. Grasp your patient's arm with your non-dominant hand and anchor the vein. You can do this by gently stretching the skin downward below the venipuncture site. With the bevel up and the needle aligned parallel to the vein, insert the needle quickly and smoothly at a 15-degree angle to the skin. Look for a flash of blood in the hub of the syringe. This tells you that the needle is in the vein. Make sure you don't move the needle after entering the vein. Ask the patient to release his fist. Now, slowly pull back on the plunger of the syringe with your non-dominant hand. Don't allow more than 1 milliliter of headspace between the blood and the top of the plunger. Fill the barrel of the syringe to the correct volume.
I have also said about heparin, a mechanism of action is it inhibits thrombin. Thrombin is nothing but a key enzyme which is needed in the which is needed in the process of coagulation, because there's a soluble plasma protein which is present in our plasma which is known as fibrinogen. This fibrinogen, this thrombin converts this fibrinogen into fibrin, and then this fibrin forms the structural basis of a clot. So in this way thrombin helps in the process of coagulation. Okay. Now some of you come. Okay, can anyone tell me why, as I have said, can anyone tell me why the tourniquet is tied 3 to 4 inches above the puncture site? Yeah, just to make the veins more prominent, okay, so that we can feel it easier. Okay, again, anybody else tell me that why it should be removed before withdrawing of the needle? Yeah, very good. And also to reduce the venous pressure so that the blood flow can restore to its normal flow. Okay, again, you tell me why it should not be kept more than 1 minute. There may be hemoconcentration which may cause bruises, inflammation, pain, मतलब complication हो सकता है उसके बाद. Okay, Okay, sit down. Now, can anybody tell me what are the sites for capillary puncture? You tell me. The ring fingertip. Okay. Other sites? This is the most preferred one. Other sites? Okay, middle finger and sometimes the index finger also. Okay. Okay, from back. Can anyone tell me what are the sites of venous collection, venipuncture? Okay. Okay. Now, what is this yellow for? Can anyone tell me? For blood culture tubes. Okay. This light blue for sodium citrate. Okay. This red one, there for serum test it is needed. Uses. Okay. This green. Okay. Very good. This lavender. Gray one. Okay. Very good. I think you have understood. Okay. Okay.